This episode is proudly supported by ArtsPay. As a hospitality owner, you know that when it comes to business, the right tools are everything, especially when it comes to payments. ArtsPay, based in Australia, is a payment solution built on a unique model. They give 50% of their profits back to the arts community. They provide world-class point-of-sale payments and support that make your operations run smoothly. But with every transaction, a portion of the fees helps build a permanent funding source for Australia's artists and cultural institutions. What's best is it costs less too. The result is a powerful way for your business to grow and become a force for good. You're not just taking payments, you're directly supporting the vibrant culture that makes our communities unique. ArtsPay believes that business should add up for everyone. For more information, go to artspay.com. ArtsPay, it pays to make the change.
I'm really considering an AI concierge, just to supplement what we already do. But I've come up against a few roadblocks, and I'm going to wait because I don't want it to be wrong. When it happens, it needs to feel like a really welcome and good addition to what we already do, rather than a replacement of anything.
Hello everybody, it's Dani Valent here with you for Dirty Linen. We are sneaking up to 800 episodes of this podcast, which is pretty extraordinary. I am still so excited every time I put the headphones on and introduce a guest. One thing I love about food and the world of hospitality is that you never stop learning. I think you also interact with the best people who are passionate about bringing other people together and put their all into it. It's constantly inspiring, energizing, and heartening. Although, of course, there are many tough stories in hospitality as well. It's certainly, even as people tell you it's a great industry, they will tell you how hard it is. So I'm grateful to people who put their time and energy into this world and indeed devote their lives to it. One thing I do love to do is celebrate milestones with restaurants. I'm excited when a restaurant celebrates its first birthday or its 8th birthday, its 10th, its 20th. But what about a restaurant that turns 30? That is incredible. In 1994, Judy McMahon took over Catalina at Rose Bay, overlooking Sydney Harbour. This now iconic restaurant is beloved for its seafood, definitely, but it's the polished experience that keeps people coming back. For many years, Judy ran Catalina alongside her husband, Michael, but after a long illness, he died 4 or so years ago. She now steers Catalina with her 2 children. An icon of the industry who never stops innovating. It is a pleasure to welcome Judy to Dirty Linen.
Nice to be here, Dani.
So good to be with you. Now, I know one of the things you're passionate about is leading a restaurant from front of house. Tell us about this wonderful machine that is Catalina and how you steer it.
Well, I don't really steer it from the front anymore, given that my kids have basically taken over from me. So I'm kind of at the back, just directing things and watching things. My husband and I always believed that service was every bit as important as food in the dining experience, and we've always done that, and we still do. So we have assembled an incredible team who really know what they're doing, very caring about the food that's being produced. They have product knowledge. I've got great wine people as well. I mean, my restaurant, I'm very fortunate. I've got 6 sommeliers, which is just awesome. And one of them, the head som, who's also my beverage manager, has been with me for about 24 years. So he came as a youngie. So they're still young. Most of my staff are 40 or under. So I'm definitely not doing the work anymore on the floor, but I'm certainly still directing it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when I say steering from the front, I did mean front of house as opposed to kitchen. We do see so many chef-run restaurants, and that's great, but I think there is something different. You know, I reckon I can tell the difference when I walk into a restaurant or when I'm experiencing a meal in a restaurant where it's, you know, who owns it, if it's the people at the front or the people at the back of house, and both can be amazing. But, I mean, what do you think is the difference with a restaurant where there is that real focus and priority given to the dining experience?
Well, I mean, a chef-driven restaurant, that chef is in the kitchen making sure the food's as good as it possibly can possibly be. And it doesn't really matter what kind of manager they've got in there. If it's not an owner, they are not going to see everything. I mean, my eyes are continually scanning the room, even though I actually don't work the floor anymore. But if I'm down there, I am always looking. I can always see when somebody needs something. And there's some intuition that comes with just focusing on the floor that I don't think many chefs have. There's not enough bandwidth to be able to control a kitchen and control a floor, the same person. It's not possible unless it's a small restaurant with an open kitchen where the owner chef is not on the kitchen side, but is like Josh, for example, Josh Nyland. I mean, he's in front of the pass and he's directing the food out, but he's taking food to the table as well. So he knows all about service. But the bigger you get, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, what are some of the things that you see in a restaurant, you know, that it's almost like you'd see them before you consciously know them? Like, what is it that you, that observation that's, I guess, in your bones? Like, what is it that you notice when you walk around a restaurant?
Oh, my God. I mean, I can notice it from the back table right in the corner when somebody needs water, when they need a bill, when they haven't been cleared quickly enough, I can just... all of it. There's an instinct that comes with having obviously been in hospitality for so long, because we are talking, I hate to say it, but, you know, over 40 years. So you just know stuff, and it frustrates me. But I realise that if I'm sitting there, I'm not actually looking after a whole lot of different tables. I'm just noticing what might be missing. And look, I do put my hand up quite a bit and just say, or nod to people and just say, you know, get over there and do that. You know, that table hasn't been cleared. They've been sitting there a while, that sort of thing. And look, good wait staff can intuit that as well. A good manager can as well. But the thing is, they're doing a whole lot of other things at the same time. So I'm a good armchair critic, I suppose.
you walk the talk enough, that's for sure. I think what you can tell when someone observation seems to be the easiest thing to talk about, but the hardest thing to teach, because you can have a, you know, order of service or whatever it is, like water, menus, clearing, whatever it is. But what is that? I mean, can you see that sixth hospitality sense in a young staff member where you know that it's beyond just knowing what to do? They just are infused with what to do.
I really love it when we get one of those, you know, because not everyone is the same. But I know what I was like when I was a young woman on the floor, and I can see that in other people. I certainly see it in my daughter. I certainly see it in my son. But, you know, they've probably learned it along the way, because what choice did they have? They were in the restaurant all the time growing up. So, you know, they probably just... they didn't just inherit it, they absorbed it. But so when someone comes along, yes, I do see it. They're the ones you grab and you nurture, because they give the great customer experience. They really do.
You alluded to, you know, how long you've been in the industry and the early days when it really hooked you in, Judy. Take us back there. Tell us when you first fell in love with restaurants.
Well, so to begin with, it was just something I did to get myself through university. I went to university in New Zealand. I had to support myself. So when I came to Australia, the first restaurants I worked in were not, I wasn't very special, let me tell you. I wasn't very good at it to begin with. But my opportunity, what switched things around for me, was when I went to work at Barara Waters Inn for Gay and Tony Bilson in about 1979. And so I was pretty young, pretty inexperienced, but it had been just after a trip that my husband and I, we weren't married then, but he was working at Barara and I wasn't, because they didn't employ females on the floor at all. They were very francophile. And so the thing is, we all went to France. I experienced some three-star Michelin restaurants and this, that, and the other. Came back, they could not find enough staff, so they gave me a go. And God, it was just amazing. I remember going out with Michael, my husband, and, you know, buying appropriate sort of front of house clothing for Barara Waters Inn. Of course, the shoes were wrong. After about 2 days of double shifts, I couldn't walk. But the having been to France and then coming back and actually being able to work in what was one of the absolute best restaurants in Australia at the time, and having to learn silver service and, you know, deboning fish at the table and silver serving ridiculous things like pasta that they did as a side dish, all sorts of things. I just loved it. I just loved it. And it was like every day was a learning process. And you watched Gay Bilson actually handwriting the menus every morning, and you watched Tony bringing in food and cooking food you'd never seen before, really. You know, he did duck livers and it was so exciting, and just being part of it. I mean, I remember someone complaining about me because apparently I was rather haughty. And as a young woman, being a bit opinionated, I suppose, because this was this great restaurant and I was working in it, and someone said, we'd like our lamb pink. And I think I said, oh, of course you would. There's no other way, or some stupid thing like that. Because I had drunk the Kool-Aid 100%. But, I mean, it was just exhilarating. And, I mean, they were only open 3 days a week. So we lived there on stretchers in sleeping bags on the dining room floor, and we just lived it for 3 days. It was amazing.
Oh, wow. What a picture you paint. That is so wonderful. You couldn't
do that now. You could not have a whole group of people sleeping side by side on your dining room floor. I'm sure you couldn't.
Well, you know, not that I've heard of. I mean, what do you think Australia gained from that? So many people worked there in those days and went on to do their own thing or to work in other people's restaurants, and took all that that exhilaration and that belief in that style of hospitality, or I guess a belief in doing hospitality your way. Like, what do you think Australia gained from that?
Well, I mean, if you think about the alumni, all those people that came from Barara, I mean, Neil Perry worked there for a while. I can't actually think of the other names, but there are heaps. And they all sowed those seeds elsewhere, and many of them succeeded. And then their enthusiasm was then passed on to other people, you know, and that standard of service as well. Yeah, I think Gay and Tony were absolute pioneers. They really were.
It's incredible to think that female waitstaff were not a thing. Tell me more about how things have changed for women over the years.
I mean, that is just so ridiculous. You know, you think about it. I mean, from my point of view, and I think we've talked about this before, Dani, I just think women have an edge over men in hospitality because we're intuitive human beings, so we can read body language better. I think we can be far more hospitable. I think we probably swallow some things that maybe a man wouldn't, in terms of how a customer might come across to begin with. I'm just glad that these days there's that realisation that we really have so much to offer.
Have you had to, I mean, that's, you know, you were living it from an early age. Like, is that something that you've had to, I don't know, fight for on behalf of other people, or that you've seen other people struggle with?
I had to fight for recognition from my own husband. You know, so for a long time he was the boss, you know, and he ran everything, and my opinion wasn't sought. And I was told not to worry about that, just to go and do, I think I was doing events for many years. So that was my role, that was my little pigeonhole, and that was all I was good for. Do you know what I mean? So my own husband So that changed over time because he became ill and I had to run it. So I didn't have to ask permission anymore. I gave myself permission to make decisions, and it turns out that I did know how to do it, even though I wasn't afforded the privilege of actually making any decisions for a long time. So, yeah.
It really makes you think, what has been lost from, individual businesses and society more generally when women haven't been given those opportunities, or they've had those opportunities, they've been shut away from those opportunities. I remember chatting to you once about this radical innovation you brought in of the electronic reservation book. Can you talk to me about some of the things that you brought in at Catalina that were really quite radical for the day?
Yeah, I mean, look, you think of it now and of course you need an online booking system. But, I think it was about 2010 or something. So, it's a while ago, 15 years. And we had always used the book. It was a reservations diary. It was thick. It was dog-eared. It got carted round from pillar to post. You were taking a booking, you couldn't find the book, so you wrote it on a post-it, then you forgot the post-it, and, all of that. It was just so analogue, so, just ridiculous. And so when it was Stephen Promutico that came to me, and I mean, he's a real innovator in so many ways in hospitality, and he had... God, I can't even remember the name of it now, but...
it was Dimmy, wasn't it?
It was Dimmy, yeah. So I said yes. I was scared stiff because I'm thinking, well, how do we get all of the data from our book into this diary? But we did. I mean, we had to actually type it all in and all of that sort of thing. And the difference it made once it went live was just incredible, because with a book, I mean... I never knew when I was booked out or not on any given day. I'd have to count, if I was taking bookings, I'd have to count up all of the reservations I had to work out whether I had any tables left. I mean, it was ridiculous. So that really simplified things a lot. And I mean, I was just thinking about it. Bar Vincent, which has just been taken over by...
R.I.P.
I mean, God, I love that restaurant. But the booking experience was so old-fashioned. It was like a throwback to the 80s, because you would ring, you would leave a message. They might or might not phone you back. So you didn't know if you had a reservation or not until they phoned you. And they didn't, unless they recognised you or your name, they didn't know anything about you. Whereas now, and so the new guys, the Bar Capan guys, are obviously putting an online booking system in and all of that sort of thing, because it's just the way of today. Right? You just have to, I think, anyway. I can't see why you wouldn't.
I mean, well, let's think about it. Like, is there anything that you lose?
No, because, we don't, because if somebody doesn't want to book online, they just phone us and we put the booking in manually. So no, there's not. But moving on from that, I mean, I'm really considering an AI concierge, just to supplement what we already do. But I've come up against a few roadblocks, and I'm going to wait, because I don't want it to be wrong. When it happens, it needs to feel like a really welcome and good addition to what we already do, rather than a replacement of anything. And I don't think it's there yet, to be honest. I was going to go live yesterday, and I pulled back. I'm going to wait until things are more just more seamless, I suppose. I actually wanted to do it just to capture bookings that I wasn't capturing overnight, and when my staff were on the floor at night, when I didn't have anyone in the office. But I'm willing to wait. I'm going to do it, though. Definitely will do it. It's definitely the way of the future, for sure.
And do you anticipate that you will just restrict it to those overnight hours, or those busy hours when someone can't pick up the phone? Yeah,
I'm definitely not replacing a person. I'm not doing it to save on wages, and I never will. And that's something about hospitality. It's one of the last bastions where people cannot be replaced by AI. They can't. And mine won't. I've already told my reservation staff their jobs are safe, because there's no replacement. There's nothing that can replace that human interaction. So I just wanted it for missed bookings. So no, I was planning on having it running in the background for overflow when we couldn't get to reservations. But because the phones were all ringing. And that does happen when every line's full and we're all answering the phone. But it would always be about getting back to a human if they wanted to, you know.
What was it not able to do? Like, what made you pull the pin on rolling it out now?
Should I be? Well, I won't say which. I won't say which AI company it was. I sell experiences, basically. I have menus that I sell at certain prices for different things. You know, I've got a 3-course menu and I've got a 7-course tasting menu. And I discovered, they didn't tell me, but it couldn't book experiences. Because it couldn't, I don't know, click the button. I don't know. I still don't really understand why it couldn't. And they're trying to work it out. But in the meantime, that it wouldn't have been able to take bookings. It would only have been able to answer the phone and direct people to our booking widget, which would defeat the purpose of having it. So I just said I would calm the farm, you know, just wait.
Yeah, I think people listening to this that have this image of a reservations team with every line ringing. I mean, that is a position that so many restaurants would like to be in, Judy. It's real testament to what you do there, that is the scenario that you create, foster and work to continue. Yeah. It's really quite amazing.
Yeah. Look, the thing is, though, Dani, I think for a small owner-operator who's juggling all those different roles of answering the phone, HR, hiring people, advertising, doing Instagram, cooking food, serving people. I think for them, a simple AI concierge answering system, sort of booking system would actually work. So if they've already got online bookings and they had AI properly programmed, I think it would cut down a lot of stress and a lot of hard work. Because there are a lot of restaurants where if you ring, you can't get through to anyone during service. So it does make, and it does make sense, therefore, in a smaller restaurant anyway, where they don't have the luxury of having a reservations person or an office manager or whatever, just to have something working for them. And I think they would miss fewer bookings. But I think we're talking simpler places, smaller places, places that don't have too many rules around their reservations. I think it could be a great help. And it's something from maybe $300 a month upwards, but you could get a basic one for $300, get it programmed. You're going to make the money on the bookings that you haven't lost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely places for it. I saw a news item recently about a AI pizza ordering platform, and you think, well, if someone's there, they're the guy making the pizza and putting the pizza in boxes and dealing with people who are walking in to have, orders coming in, people who, for whatever reason, don't want to use an online platform, would rather get on the phone. Then why not? Yeah, I think there are definitely places for it. I love that you're thinking about all this stuff. What other kinds of things are you always looking at in the restaurant and wondering about how you can refine and make it work better for yourself?
I'm not very good with the idea of too much. I still believe in relying on the instincts and knowledge of the people that work for me. So I believe that AI can do stuff about streamlining menu planning and costing and this sort of thing. I don't know enough about it to know whether I want to jump into that. Obviously, we did quite a few years back, automate all of our HR and onboarding processes. So we use a company for that. And that's really helpful because there are a lot of policies online and all of those things that as a restaurateur, you're supposed to be an absolute expert on industrial relations and wages and the Fair Work Act and blah, 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 all of that. Well, we can't. We don't know. And a lot of us make honest mistakes. But if you've got a company that's helping you with all of that, and a lot of it's automated, the rostering's automated, it kind of helps, just sort of. So we adopted that. That was just common sense. After all the wage theft things that were going on in the, when it was all happening, when did it all come to a head, about 2017, 2018, I just thought, oh God, we've got to make sure that we're doing things right.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Judy, I know that you're appearing at Fine Food on September 9 in a panel where you're talking about smarter restaurants, better guest experiences and touching on AI. So if anyone's at Fine Food, would definitely direct you to catch up with Judy there. Do you know who's on the panel with you?
Yeah, well, Stephen Promutico's on that panel.
Oh, right.
He's
okay.
an innovator. He's bringing AI to the hospitality space. So I can't wait to talk to him about that. Oh, I've already talked to him, but I really respect him. He's just such a game changer. Things that he's just got so many ideas. And I think Josh Nyland is on that panel as well. So that'll be good. But I'm on another panel the day before, which is, I can't even remember what it's called.
That's it. So that's the Women in the Industry panel. So Women in the Industry, September 9, AI meets Hospitality, September 10. I've just got my facts in order there.
I can't even remember either, because then the night before all of that, it's the first gala dinner for ARCA, which is the Australian Restaurant and Cafe Association, and I'm on the board of that as well. So I've decided in my older age to give a bit back and be on a few, just to, not to give advice, but just, I suppose I am a voice of experience, weirdly, strangely. I don't feel like I've got a lot to say, but I actually know a lot that I don't even know that I know. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, I'm so glad that you're doing that. I mean, ARCA's an interesting body. It sort of sprang up a year ago to be a voice for the hospitality industry. I mean, despite being such a or maybe because it's such a big, diverse and disparate industry, it has been hard for the industry to gather with one voice. What do you see as the role of ARCA?
Well, the role of ARCA is to represent not only its members, but, you know, the membership is growing really, really well, but just to represent the industry as a whole to government, basically, because government on both the state and federal levels, MPs don't understand what we go through. You know, we just get bashed all the time, you know, and there are so many issues that are affecting us, and there are so many restaurant and cafe businesses that are just about against the wall, you know, and then there's more. Parliamentarians don't really understand what the ramifications are of a lot of the things that they talk about. And so I think the role of ARCA, particularly with Wes, who is sort of our spokesperson, he has a lot of not influence, but he has a lot of ins with a lot of parliamentarians. He's in Canberra a lot, and he's basically just always arguing for us and explaining what the ramifications are of so many of the decisions that they decide to make, even about immigration, because, you know, we don't have enough staff, but, you know, about student levels, all of that, because we pull our staff from students from overseas, people on working holidays, people that want to move to Australia, all of that. So immigration is a major deal, but parliamentarians see it from a different angle, and we need them to see it from our angle. So there are a whole lot of issues. And the thing is, we've made it very, very inexpensive for restaurants to join. It's virtually $1 a week. It's $50. Might have gone up a little bit, but it's hardly anything a year for really good, strong representation.
Yeah, well, Wes Lambert, the previous CEO of the Restaurant and Catering Association, now with ARCA. So, you're right. He definitely spends a bit of time in Canberra and has those conversations. You mentioned, Judy, immigration, which is, you know, always a source of frustration for people in the hospitality industry, and the complexity of the rules and the way that it can make it in some ways easier to run a business, because you can get perhaps those working holiday visa staff, but then more challenging to run a business because they have to leave after 6 months. And that's just one example of the complexities of the immigration laws and systems. I mean, whether it's, what else is top of mind for you, whether it's something in that arena or something else that impacts the hospitality industry? If you were, you know, in one of those rooms in Canberra and everyone was listening to you, Judy, what are some of the, what would you like to see change for the hospitality industry?
There are a couple of things. I mean, the idea that there are enough Australians to do the job in hospitality is just totally ridiculous. There aren't. Okay. So there are two things that are wrong. We need more training and we need apprenticeships to actually do the job. We need the TAFEs to retain those kids so that they actually qualify, because there's a huge dropout rate at the moment. So, and we need kids coming in at the bottom, and there needs to be incentives for kids to learn trades, but also for us to employ those kids while they're learning. I mean, I've only got one apprentice at the moment. I would love to have more. I've usually got one or two, but there are a lot of restaurants that don't have any because there are just aren't enough to go around. So the other part of that then means that if we can't get Australians to do it, it has to be recognised that we should be able to get people from overseas without jumping through so many hoops. And it's so expensive. The idea, I think the unions think, well, they're just going to get people from overseas and exploit them and take the jobs away from Australians. It's not true. I would not sponsor anyone if I could get Australians, because it costs so much to get them to us, and then there's just no understanding. So immigration has to change. All of that should be streamlined. We have to pay a training fee every time we employ someone from overseas on a sponsorship. And that training fee, that levy, I don't think it goes to more apprenticeships for Australians. I don't even know where it goes, but it's huge. It costs me almost $10,000 to sponsor a single chef or waiter. It's just ridiculous.
I think some of these rules you can see the reason for them in the first place. Like, yes, of course, give you an incentive to employ Australians, but then when you can't, it's like you're penalised for that so heavily. Sure, like if you need to bring someone in from overseas, why not? Like, of course, we should be funneling towards training Australians, but then if they're not if they're not training, then yeah, exactly, where is the money going, or at least what is the money doing? When you do have that single unicorn apprentice that comes in, do you find that the training they're getting at TAFE matches with what you need in a professional environment, or is there a sort of gap with what they're being taught and what they need to know?
Well, look, I mean, we're teaching them on the job anyway. So, I've got this girl at the moment. She is just gold. She's just amazing because her attitudes, going back to what we were talking about hospitality, she just wants to be a chef. She's just eyes open. She'll do anything, right? So it doesn't really matter what she's being taught at TAFE. That's going to be a piece of paper that she takes forward. But her training with us is the thing that will matter. And, if they've got an open mind and they actually want to work, there's so much that they can gain, Oh,
I love it. Well, I wish that there were more of those golden girls and boys, but love to hear about these passionate women getting into the kitchen as well, because I think, as much as we know that women are allowed to work front of house now, we would still love to see many more women in the kitchens.
Yeah, it's pretty imbalanced in my kitchen. It's weird. I mean, not in the pastry section. I've got plenty of women in pastry. I mean, it's kind of such a, it's a strange. I can't think of the word, but it's just putting people in a box. Okay, they can do desserts because they're women, or on cold larder. I do notice it. I mean, I probably have about 10 women in the kitchen, and that's quite an out of 30. So it's a third. So that's a bit higher than would be the average in the industry, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Judy, I know you aren't fond of thinking that you have wisdom to share, but obviously you have lots. So I'd love to end this conversation with some advice for young people who are, let's hope, considering a career in hospitality. Maybe it's their part-time job at the moment, but they're wondering, they sort of like it. Maybe they want to make a go of it. What would you say to someone who is wondering if hospitality is the place for them?
Do it. There is something about it that a desk job is not going to give you. So if you have that passion for people and for creating experiences for people, it's just so satisfying. So, and I think there are a lot of avenues for for women these days to take up leadership roles within hospitality. Probably work for a woman. That's what I would do. I would come and work for me, you know, and because my daughter is also quite an empath, so more so than I am. So, you know, you feel then you're going to be supported. And so then it becomes, it is the thing that could just inform a really good, satisfying working life.
Love it. And Judy, what do you love about what you do?
Well, look, I'm past retirement age. I actually shouldn't be working anymore, but you know what? I like going in there every day. I like seeing all my staff, and they're young and enthusiastic. It's mine as well. I love walking through it and just seeing what I've created and what is still there and still going strong. So I'm not going to be retiring anytime soon. Sorry, kids. But I love working with my son and my daughter as well. So it's just, I love everything about it. And I can take my dogs to work into the office. So, you know, lucky them, and you know, it's just a nice life.
Oh, wonderful, Judy. Thank you so much for chatting today. So wonderful to talk to you and hear some stories of, you know, back in the day, but also the energy that you're putting into the restaurant now. Really, really an honour. And thanks so much for what you do. And, hopefully see you for a meal at Catalina before too long.
I hope so, Dani. And, thanks for interviewing me. And, by the way, we're just about to turn 31.
Well, happy birthday. I would love to celebrate that milestone. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks very much.
Thank you. This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtyLinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This